As somebody who has built multiple e-commerce websites over the years, I have tried out all of the big e-commerce platforms to find out which is the most efficient, easiest to use, and quite frankly, the best. After testing pretty much any of the major e-commerce platforms that you can think of, there are only 3 that I would actually use. In this video, I am going to be showing you what they are, how they work, and what they cost. Number 1 is Shopify, and Shopify definitely tops the list for the best e-commerce platform. If this was a video on general website builders, then the answer would be slightly different. However, if you are looking to build an e-commerce store, then Shopify is definitely the one for this. Shopify is by far the easiest and most user-friendly for people who are starting out with no web design experience. This is Shopify. And what you see in the middle is a live preview of the store. You can see each individual section that makes up the store between these 2 blue lines. What I really like about Shopify is how limited it is. That sounds absolutely crazy, but just stick with me. You will see later on in the video when we take a look at the other 2 that most website builders allow you to drag and drop elements around. Shopify doesn't. I have this element right here, and if I try to drag and drop this, it just isn't going to let me. Although this can sound bad or like a negative at first, the reason Shopify does this is for simplicity. When you have the freedom to drag and drop these elements around, it really makes it much harder to build a beautiful store, unless of course you know exactly what you are doing. With Shopify, you only have a few different sections that you can choose from, and then you can choose how you customize these on this right-hand side menu. So although Shopify is limited, it does this intentionally to make it easier to build beautiful websites like these. So that is the front end, and that is how you can design your website with Shopify. However, this front end editor isn't what makes Shopify so special. The App Store is. The Shopify App Store is absolutely incredible, and this is where Shopify takes the title as the #1 e-commerce platform. The Shopify App Store is where you can go to get any feature that you can't get with Shopify straight out of the box. It's kind of similar to your phone, where it's super useful straight out of the box. You can call people, you can text people, you can use a calculator. But if you go into the App Store, you can transform your phone into something entirely different with apps like Uber and Netflix. With the Shopify App Store specifically, you get access to thousands and thousands of different features that you can add to your store. As you can see here, you can get apps to add product reviews, track shipping more effectively, add different types of discounts to your store, and many other things. Aside from the App Store, Shopify also makes running an e-commerce business on the back end super simple and streamlined. You also get cheaper shipping rates with Shopify, as they have different deals with postal carriers, and also a deduction on the card processing fees when you upgrade your account. These are all features that you can't get with any other e-commerce platform. Finally, let's take a look at the Shopify pricing. There are 3 plans that you can get with Shopify: the basic, Shopify plan, and advanced. And these range from $29, $79, and $299. Now, for most people watching this video, you will want to go with the basic plan. The only real difference between basic and Shopify is that on the Shopify plan, you can add 5 additional staff accounts, and you also get a reduction in the card transaction fees. I should also mention here that if you click the first link down in the description, that is going to give you access to the extended Shopify trial, which gives you access to Shopify for free for 3 days, and then the first month for just $1. The second e-commerce platform that we are going to be looking at is Squarespace. And the first thing that I need to mention with Squarespace is that Squarespace is not specifically designed for e-commerce owners like Shopify is. However, it does a fantastic job in catering to us. This is Squarespace. And when building a website, the user interface definitely feels better and more user-friendly than Shopify. I can drag elements around to anywhere I want on the website. I can change text by simply clicking and editing, as opposed to Shopify, where you have to change the text in this sidebar. I can also add sections above and below, and the sections that you can add by default just look a lot better than the ones you get on Shopify. Squarespace does have a few limits though, and the major one is the Squarespace extensions. Extensions is effectively Squarespace's version of the App Store, and this is super limited as it only has something like 40 extensions, and most of these just allow you to connect Squarespace to another website rather than adding functionality and different features to your store like Shopify does. Overall, I would say that if you are creating a different type of website that isn't e-commerce, like a blog or an affiliate marketing website, then Squarespace is probably the better option. However, for e-commerce users specifically, Squarespace really just lacks in functionality with the App Store, and it also doesn't have some of the additional benefits like the reduced shipping rate that you get with Shopify. Taking a look at Squarespace's pricing, we have $16 for the personal, $27 per month for commerce, and $49 per month for Commerce Advanced. At first, this may look super cheap compared to some other options out there. However, first of all, we need to take away Personal, as the Personal plan does not give us access to any of the e-commerce features. Next, we move up to Business, which once again seems relatively cheap at $23 per month. However, if we scroll down, a sneaky little thing that Squarespace do here is on this plan, they will add an additional 3% transaction fees for any products that you sell. This is in addition to the 2.9% plus 30 cent card processing fee. So in total, with this plan, you are paying 5.9% plus 30 cents for any transaction on your store. Once again, this doesn't really seem like a viable option, especially considering that the commerce plan is only $4 more expensive and we don't have this 3% additional fee. So if you are starting out, this is the plan that I would recommend. I wouldn't recommend going for the Commerce Advanced. There's too big of a price gap there, and as a beginner, Commerce will be absolutely fine. Once again, you can use the link in the description to sign up for Squarespace, and with Squarespace, you can design your entire website for completely free, and you only have to pay when you actually put it live. On to the third and final recommendation, and this is WooCommerce. Now, WooCommerce is a little bit different to Shopify and Squarespace, in that it isn't a platform within itself. Instead, WooCommerce is a plugin for WordPress, which means that you build your store on WordPress, and then WooCommerce adds the e-commerce features like adding products, pricing, shipping, and so on. One huge pro to using WordPress and WooCommerce is that it is a lot cheaper. Instead of having to pay for the actual platform, both WordPress and WooCommerce are free. Instead, the only thing that you actually have to pay for is hosting for your website so that you can put it on the internet and drive traffic. Buying hosting is a lot cheaper than both Squarespace and Shopify, and I have tested most of the hosting providers out there. By far the best one that I have found is Hostinger. Now onto Hostinger pricing. If you use the first link down in the description, that will take you over to Hostinger. And as you can see, you can get up to 78% off all of your hosting plans. So let's click on claim deal right here. We have three options. We have premium, business, and cloud startup. And I would recommend going with the business plan. The reason is for this increased performance. I've tried to build e-commerce websites on premium. However, with this standard performance, especially when you start adding plugins and different features to your store, it can slow down dramatically. However, with business, I never ran into this issue right here. And that's the reason I also wouldn't recommend Cloud Startup. Business does more than enough, and this price gap right here doesn't justify upgrading to the Cloud Startup in my opinion. Personally, I have only ever built one e-commerce website using WordPress and WooCommerce, and the reason is that although the website builder in itself is good, the fact that you have to use this within WordPress is a negative for me. This is the WordPress dashboard, and compared to Squarespace and Shopify, you can see right from the get-go that this isn't as user-friendly. Aside from that, this right here is the actual website builder that you can get with WordPress and WooCommerce. And this is definitely more similar to Squarespace than it is Shopify. Once again, with WooCommerce, you can drag and drop your elements anywhere you want on your website, which adds the extra customizability, but does make it harder to build a beautiful and professional website. Just like the other two, it is super simple in terms of editing things, changing the text, adding in different images. So the front end is good, however the back end is really where WooCommerce lacks. To start out with, the menu over on WooCommerce is a little bit strange. For example, we have WooCommerce right here, which shows everything inside of WooCommerce, like the orders, the customers, the report. However, when adding a product or even looking at payments or analytics, they are all shown down here. It doesn't really make sense to me, but that's not the biggest problem. Instead, the biggest thing that I have found when adding in different products and doing things like this is when adding in products and things like this, it's just not as user-friendly as Squarespace or Shopify. For example, this shipping section right here, I can go ahead and enter in the information, but then all of the shipping classes we have to set up on the back end. Whereas Shopify, for example, is a lot more streamlined in this, and it just makes your life a lot easier as a user. Although I have been pretty harsh on WooCommerce up to this point, it still is a good website builder and is one of the only 3 that I would ever use to build an e-commerce website. With that being said, it just isn't as good as Squarespace and Shopify. So those are my top 3 website builders for building e-commerce websites. If you want to sign up for any of these, you can do so using the links down in the description. And if you found this video valuable, don't forget to smash that like button and tap that subscribe button. Until next time, take it easy.